Chapter 11. So, what do you think? Siddhartha's voice woke me up where I had fallen asleep on the couch. How did the incident happen? I couldn't understand him at first. His presence in my house was disturbing my peace of mind. Remembering our college days, I felt concerned for him, of course, but I was also afraid of him. He had turned to violence. By giving him shelter, I was inviting trouble from the security forces. If I denied him shelter, I'd be inviting trouble from his people. It was a chaos 22 situation. He went and looked again at the sketch of my old school. Then he went to the kitchen and made us tea. I followed him. What incident? I asked as he offered me a cup. There's only one incident on people's minds at the moment, he said. The massacre at the palace. He took a sip of tea. I put down my cup and poured a glass of water for myself. Then I poured as both orange juice and gave him a glass. He put it on the table, pushing aside the newspapers. I'm a bit dazed, I said, because you just woke up. No, I mean, the mascara is so shocking. I don't know about to make of it. He finished his tea and started reading one of the newspapers. Just then the phone rang. It was my landlord calling from America, asking how things were in Kathmandu. I told him his house was fine. Then he asked how I was. I said I was fine too. Then he asked about the massacre at the palace. I told him as much as I knew. I already know that from the internet, he said impatiently. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the subject. I'm at a loose for the moment. Dr. Saif, I said. His daughter came on the line. Dai, did you find my puppy? All this fool in America wanted to know about was her puppy. I had emailed her that the puppy had run away, but the truth was I had given it away before I left for Goa. I am a busy man. I am not interested in dogs and cats. Why couldn't the landlord's daughter understand that? Right now, my only concern was that what was happening to our country. She told me how sad she was that Princess Shruti had died. They must have been about the same age. When the family had lived in Nepal, the daughter used to talk a lot about Shruti, and I had listened with some interest because Shruti herself was a painter and often opened art exhibitions. I felt especially bad about her death. Maybe she would have survived if they had taken her to nearby Beer Hospital instead of to the army hospital in Chhaoni. At least then one member of the late King Birendra's family would have survived. When I saw a picture of her two little daughters in a newspaper, I almost wept. There was static on the line. Then it got cut off. After hanging up, I turned back to Siddhartha. That was my landlord, I explained. He and his family went to America on a diversity visa, but they still won't leave me in the peace. They keep calling me to ask about the house and their dog. They keep pestering me. Siddhartha said nothing. After a while, I said, I must be weak. Though I should be happy at seeing an old friends after so many years, I feel uncomfortable having you here. In a thoughtful tone, Siddhartha said, the massacre at the palace didn't happen just by chance. If you look at it in the national context, you can see many signs that it was planned. I think it was intended to create a crisis in the country. But you yourself have created a crisis, I said. Think about it, he said. A king who opposed the deployment of the army, a king who wanted to political solution to the issues raised by the people's movement, a king who wanted consciousness, a king who wanted consensus among the parties inside the country had been murdered. His logic seemed flawed to me. But you people want to fight the army, don't you? And don't tell me you admire a king against whom you unleashed a Republican insurgency. We should look at things in their totality, he said. We should analyze individuals objectively and judge them on their own merits. In front of me hung a painting, a Vogue image of a woman from Thimi wearing a black sari with a red border. Next to her was a man wearing a Patgaule topi. He had a flower tucked behind his right ear. This meant they were going to a feast. It was a painting about festivals and the change of seasons. I didn't know why I had used too much read in the painting. It looked like it was dripping with blood. The phone rang again. Painter Babu, it was my landlord again. The line got disconnected. I hated being called Painter Babu as if I were someone who painted signboards. Signboards. How did this man ever get a PhD in social economics and wind up a professor? How had he worked for so many years as an advisor and consultant in government offices? You are not emailing anymore, he said. As thought I had been so close to him that was exchange emails every day. His inability to understand my life always irritated me. I had so much work to do, but he always expected me to spin him updates on the latest developments in the country. Why had he left the country if he was so concerned about it? And when he did live here, what contribution had he made? Was that why he was suddenly so anxious because he realized he had done nothing for the country he had left behind? We came to America all right, but my wife's not happy, he admitted. I have found work. I manage a department store. Everything's fine, but I can't stop thinking about Nepal. His wife came on the line. Please take good care of my Puja Kotha, she said. Certainly, I said, though I never set foot in her prayer room and sometimes at night heard rats running around inside it. When the conversation ended, I hung up again and picked up my cup of tea. It was cold. I went to the kitchen to make coffee. I want to see the painting, Siddhartha said. Which painting? Have you forgotten the painting you did of me? I thought back and the memory returned. A long time ago, I had made Siddhartha sit on a stool for 2 full days posing for a portrait. He was a student leader at our college then. I used to watch him taking part in political debates. At first, I never talked to him because I wasn't interested in politics, but I was curious about him and his friends, who argued with such fervor during the breaks between classes. Siddhartha was my junior, but I had caught my attention. He had caught my attention through the painting. I'd wanted to show the kind of Nepal our young people aspire to. I call it What We Want. It sold in my first group exhibition. A man bought it just before the exhibition closed. That man no longer lived in Nepal. He had paid a lot of money for the painting. How could the country make any progress when the well-to-do choose to leave? I had heard to now taught in a university in Britain and long ago had misplaced his visiting card. He was married to a foreigner who had come to Nepal as a young woman to do postgraduate research. They had fallen in love, and by the time they had left Nepal, had already had 2 daughters. They had brought the daughters to the exhibition. The little girls were tall for their age, with dark hair and fair skin. The wife had asked me some political questions and wanted to understand the background to the painting. I tried to convince her I wasn't a Marxist. If I believe in any ism, it's aestheticism, I had told her. Now I looked at Siddhartha and said, I should have given that painting a tragic toss. You said you were painting a figure of hope, he said. I thought I was. If I had known then what I know now, I would have painted you as a tragic figure, but you saw me as a representative of the youth movement. I shrugged. So, so, how could that be tragic? I could have painted you dead, killed by a bullet, I said. Then that would be a painting of someone else, not me. What if I told you I have no faith in you people? That I don't think you offer any hope for the future, I said. Then what would be wrong, he said, if you looked at things objectively? You'd realize that at least our society does have hope. Did I make a mistake in my painting? You were in a hurry. You painted me as you saw me, he said, but you failed to capture me as I really was. You didn't say anything at the time. You never asked, he said. Your expression said it all. That's where you are wrong, I said. You didn't understand. You just went for superficial appearances and painted me as a character, not as part of a large phenomenon. What difference does it make? I said, irritated. You presented me as a romantic hero and individual. You lacked the vision to understand. I represented more than that. You are immature then, I said. I am not prepared to do the painting again. The painting I made was good enough for the time. It was a statement about the period. I never asked you to use me as a character in your painting, he said. I agreed. No, you didn't. And you have turned out exactly the opposite of the way I painted now. Opposite of the way I painted you. He scoffed. Then you were deluded. I was always willing to fight for what I believed in. I never imagined you turned to violence. Exactly, he said. You created an image and fell in love with it. You never thought about the changes taking place behind the facade. I thought you wanted positive change, and I thought you'd use peaceful means to achieve it, I said. Then that was your mistake, he said. Instead of painting me frozen in time, you should have painted me as a character removed from time and space. That's why you wouldn't have the problem you have now, your inability to reconcile the me you saw all those years ago and the me I have become. Imaginary characters don't make good subjects for paintings, I said. You have finally come to the point, dear artist, he said. You want to paint real character, but you can't accept that real people change and grow. You are scared of their growth. Is it just a phase you are going through then? A stage in your growth, I asked. A new you? A destructive me? You would say? I can't disagree. Consider purpose, he said. Destruction in order to create. Isn't it possible to create without destroying? He said. The important question is what is being destroyed. To cure this diseased country, its fundamental structure must be changed, and that's what we are doing. But people are being killed. Most of the people who are being killed are representatives of the world power elite. True, some innocent people are getting caught in the crossfire, he conceded. But consider how the crisis first arose. Wasn't it the state which drew first blood? Didn't the state first arrest, torture, and kill unarmed people? And you had to respond with violence? There was no other option, he said. The only possible response was for the oppressed to take up arms. Weapons give us power. Has the state ever listened to the powerless? But our society is being torn apart. People don't need peace, he said. They need justice. People are tired of living in despair under the facade of peace. If there's justice, peace will follow. King Birendra declared Nepal a zone of peace instead of making it a just country, and that's not good enough. I said nothing. We shouldn't ask for a peaceful country, I reiterated. We should ask for a just country. Then why is injustice being meted out in the name of building a just country. We should learn to distinguish between justice and injustice, he said. You think I can't? Had I found the role I genuinely wanted, the events that your old school would never have happened, he said. Nor would this masquerade have stained the royal palace. You are talking rubbish. Why drag the palace into this? You see your school as a symbol of this state of the nation, he said, but I see the royal palace as its true reflection. What happened in the palace mirrors the current crisis. Every house in our country is falling into ruins. Every family is being torn apart. We have to see the conflict within the royal family as a reflection of the situation in the whole country. That's a scientific approach. But in the case of the palace, the trigger was pulled in madness, I argued. Even if that were true, questions remain. What drove the crown prince to do what he did? Why was he left to rot within the four walls of the palace with nothing but drugs, alcohol, and guns to occupy him? Obviously, the king didn't have time to give him enough attention. I'm beginning to think you can't understand, he said, growing exasperated. You are talking about an individual. I am talking about an institution. But intentions are made up of individuals, I argued. I believe in the supremacy of the free individual. You give too much weight to the importance of the individual. That's why you can't grasp the bigger picture. You are fighting to build a new nation. I'm trying to understand you, I said, but I think your policies are confused, he said. I came to you because I believed you could understand me and what I am fighting for. You are the artist who inspired me to live. I did? Live for where? Live for life underground, he said. Ever since I went underground, I have been living on a razor's edge. I was wrong to paint you as a political figure, I said. You are scared of your own shadow. I should have painted you as just an ordinary student. Wouldn't I have become involved in politics in any case? You could have become a lawyer. That would have given me more skills to make my arguments, he said. You could have become a journalist. Then I might have shocked you by pressing harsh truths about this country. You could have become a musician. I would have stirred the people with revolutionary songs. What if I painted you as a farmer? I would have joined the rebellion raising my hoe. I could have sent you to Korea or the Gulf as a laborer. I would have brought all the Nepali who work abroad back to their country to join the rebellion. I said, it would have been best to send you to America. Why do you presume? I would have lost my revolutionary zeal even there. I could organize a revolt from any place on earth, he said. I'm angry that you have resorted to violence, I said. You are responsible for that, he said. I was preparing for a teaching career, but the day I saw your painting, I decided to become a good citizen. You gave me the courage to channel the frustration of the people into revolution. You are wrong, I said. Only the future can judge whether you have become a good citizen. I say you have become a knife that's cutting ordinary Nepalese. You are only sowing bitterness. As an artist, don't you have any urge to change society? Paintings aren't meant to change society, I said. Art isn't politics. Paintings, like music, removed from day-to-day life. It's a medium that touches the heart and the mind simultaneously. It seeks only the synergy of brush strokes and colors. I use colors to express beauty. I am not involved in politics. Beauty lies in the bitter truth of Nepal, of life, he said. All your colors express is fantasy. If an artist starts bringing politics onto his canvas, there will be no differences between him and a politician, I said. The two should remain separate. Art soon become mere propaganda. The professions that are outside of politics give society its depth. Art that's dominated by politics isn't art anymore. Art has no life unless it is independent. In that case, I would like to take you to the countryside, he said. I would like you to see for yourself the way the country is these days. Then you will discover that your paintings are meaningless. Then you will understand that you are lost in a jumble of culture, songs, and dance, a fantasy world of colors. I sat down opposite. The coffee was ready. I offered him a cup. He declined. He stayed standing. He was stubborn. He was tough. I pushed aside the curtain and looked out the window. There was a blue flower on top of a hillock near a neighboring house. It was one of the last jacaranda blooms of the season. The monsoon had arrived for the coming 3 months. Kathmandu would be deluged with rain, then the cold wind of autumn would blow, clearing the eyes of the city dwellers. Festive processions would flood the streets. If I went to the countryside with Siddhartha, I would miss seeing the colors, hearing the bands playing music, and most importantly, watching the people enjoying the changing seasons of the city. Siddhartha wanted me to see the changes I had brought about. He had brought about. Was it really change or just destruction? Where would we go? I asked. If you were a true artist, you would guess where and why, he said in a challenging tone. Though you fall into the reactionary camp, I feel it's my duty to show you up the right path because you are a creative person and I believe there's some hope for you. What if I don't go? That's all be your loss. That will be your loss. You will drown in your reactionary quagmire and nobody will be able to save you. History will judge you a traitor.